All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. Today I'm joined by Brian Montanari. He is the president and CEO of Habco Industries. He has over 17 years as the CEO of the company, and he's been shaping their business development strategy and lean initiatives. Brian, thank you so much for joining today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, David. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. You ready to jump into the first question?
Bring it on.
So, what do you see as the most important factor for manufacturers when it comes to implementing lean effectively across their entire organization and operations?
Yeah, I've been involved with lean since even before I started working after school. I had a great opportunity to work for one of the best lean companies out there called the Wire Mold Company, and that's where I learned lean. And one of the things that I've seen over the years as I've gone from one company to another is that a lot of folks try to do what they read in the textbook. If they read lean thinking or they read some other book, they think that the tools automatically apply. But what I look at is every business is different, every challenge is different. It's a set of tools you use to apply. It's not a recipe. And one of the biggest things I've seen over the years is what I call window dressing lean. A lot of people like to do the tools to show it, but you don't necessarily get the results or pull it through the value stream to make sure that the effort you're doing creates that value. And for me, it's always been a philosophy. It's been something you are, not something you do. And whether people call it lean, whether they call it the tools, it's all about the philosophy of continuous improvement. So for me, it's about doing it for the right reasons, not just to have it show.
Not just to do it for the sake of doing it. It's so how would someone get into lean manufacturing? Say they're in an organization and they're not sure where to start.
Yeah, it's a good question. So if you have a passion for continuous improvement, a lot of people have that in them without even knowing it. It's what you do at home, quick changeover. I remember when my first daughter was born, just the thought of changing diapers, needing to make sure everything is close by for a quick changeover. It's intuitive and it's inherent in a lot of people. It's not necessarily inherent with how to apply it. And so for what I usually talk to people about, if you have an opportunity for improvement, don't go solving the world's problems or the company's problems. Start with an area of influence before you can go out to more. Don't worry about other people's areas. Find something. One of the first things I did when early in my career was I 5S'd my office, right? And this is going back a long time ago to where I had signs, trash, recycle. I still actually have those signs today in my office here, but do it in an area that you can control before you go off trying to push it in others. And just start small, but it's all about continuous improvement. It's all about finding an opportunity to just do better each time.
I like that analogy too. It's like clean your own room before you try to clean up everyone else's room, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you always find those early adopters too, and that's where it kind of gets fun because you look at an opportunity and you start to just do something small, and people take notice. And then especially when you're at a position in an organization where I was after Wire Mold Company, I went to another company, but I was at a mid-level management position, and it wasn't core to the CEO at that time. And so we kind of had to push from the middle up and down before it became, bought in at all levels. And the way we did it was, or the way I did it when I first started there, is I went to every single one of my employees and I just did a little 6-7 question survey. Name one thing you like about the company, one thing you wish you can change. Name one thing you like about your department, one thing you wish you could change. Name one thing you like about your daily job and one thing you wish you could change. And then tell me something about yourself that you do out of work just so I can get to know people better. And what I did was that from that, I created 2 lists. One list of all the common themes of things people liked, and another list of all the common things that people didn't. And even though there were things on the list that they liked that I wanted to change because I didn't think they were overall the best thing to do, I didn't touch those. I left those for a while, and I focused on the common themes for opportunities for improvement and started getting wins there to start getting the buy-in, and then we leveraged it from that point forward.
That's a really interesting way to do things. That's phenomenal too. Now, is that something you were taught or something you sort of took, different elements of lean manufacturing and created your own kind of style?
Yeah, good question. Every company I went to early in my career, and I was really blessed because my boss that I had at the Wire Mold Company, which I worked at during college and a couple years afterwards, he left to go to a wire and cable company and took me with him. And then he left to go to a medical device company, and he took me with him. So even though I had 3 different companies, in the first 10 years of my career, I had the same boss, same mentor for the entire time. And he was transformational in my career. So Steve Brown, if you're watching this, I think the world of you, and thank you very much for everything you've done. But it was each time we went to another company, we learned from our prior mistakes, and we learned from forcing some of the things through that we thought would apply that didn't, right? And so when I went to the second company, we did that. It was just because for me, I'm a person. I care a lot about culture, and I care about the way we implement things, because I don't want to go disrupt somebody's world without being really prepared to disrupt the world. So it was just something I thought of back then about, like, how do I know in this company that I've never been to before? How do I know the right areas to go? Because I was very early in my career. I was probably at the time when I went to the second company 23, 24 years old. So I just wanted to do it in the right manner. And I've done that at every company since. And even now, it's been almost 18 years here at Habco. One of the things I've been doing for decades, even at my prior company, I always sit with, in my other company, my last company before, I would sit to 2 levels below, so a skip level meeting. But I do it here every week. I sit with 1 or 2 or 3 people at any point in the company, and we just sit and chat for a half an hour. And I keep doing that 1 to 3 people a week, depending on the schedule. And I just go through the entire company year after year after year. And I take copious notes. Now I'm using AI to get the notes recorded easier. And then with my executive team, we look at the themes, and I get to know my employees very well from that. But we take the same concept now, and we'll sit down twice a year, once at mid-year and then once at the end of the year, and look at all the common themes of all the things that went well, of all the things that require improvement. And that becomes part of our strategy, part of our Hoshians for the next year's improvements. And I've got notes and books full of stuff over all the years, and it's amazing to see how it's what we're doing and the changes we're making. Even though we're making the decision maybe at the executive table, it's all stemming from the employee feedback. It's all stemming from what we should be doing better. And that's just the way I've always approached, from an upbringing standpoint to how we try to teach our kids. But you have to have what we call passion. You have to have passion for what you do, but compassion for the people whose lives you're affecting on a daily basis.
That is really cool. So 3 people per week throughout the entire year, and you just cycle through the entire company. So you get their feedback, you implement it into an AI system. And then, so how does that work with AI and lean manufacturing? Because that's kind of like the future, for lean. I would assume it's going to implement that in some way, right?
Yeah, I think that's a whole other podcast for sure, a whole other discussion. Yeah. But so what I do is, before I would just take, I've got my book here, just copious notes of all the comments and everything from that person. And I would just take all the notes, then I document it, and I would email it to the rest of the executive team so they could see, hey, because sometimes there's just some immediate things we want to go fix real quick, and address it. Other ones we kind of just, all right, let's see how the themes go. And then what I used to do just manually, I put a spreadsheet together of all the common themes and all of that, and then we would just review it as a team. But now I actually take it and I'll put it through AI to say, all right, what are the common themes? And I can do it by, what are the common themes coming from the folks in the shop? What are the common themes coming from the folks in management? Common themes from engineering? And I can look at, because what bothers the shop is very different than what might bother sales. What bothers the shop is probably something stemming from engineering. So it's interesting to see how it all plays out. But AI, to answer your question, is a big part of the future for this. And I don't view it as something separate from lean, right? Because for me, again, lean is a philosophy of continuous improvement. And when you look at, the elements of how to make money, it's increased throughput, reduce operating expense, reduce inventory. And if I could use technology to help become more effective and more efficient, and I'm spending less time analyzing something on a computer and more time in the shop or more time in engineering or out with the customer, that's just better efficiencies. And so when I look at AI, that to me now is when I used to look at our lean, we developed this lean house without waste that had 26 lean principles. AI now is just another tool that you use to eliminate waste. And that's how we look at it.
So we'll revisit in like 6 months. We'll do one exclusively on AI. I think that would be a good plan.
Yeah, and so my dinner table is actually my kids are out of the house, so we're empty nesting, but my wife is an executive. As the picture of my wife falls down as we're talking about it. So my wife works at a travelers insurance company, and she is responsible for data analytics and AI in the personal insurance lines. And so seeing what they're doing and having conversations at the dinner table, it's just, that helps. I'm not the smartest person. I just steal shamelessly from a lot of these things. And even just last night at dinner, we were talking about something, and I was looking at, a new contract, and I'm trying to make sure it's consistent with prior contracts. She's like, just throw that in ChatGPT and just ask it to compare it to. I'm like, I've been spending hours on this thing, right. It's just finding ways to be more effective.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely see the benefits of it. And again, it's sometimes just nice to generate ideas and analyze stuff, and then you can make your own, roadmap based on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I've sat on a couple panels and some small group sessions where some local organizations are trying to come up with whether it was a cybersecurity assessment model or, something with AI, and everybody's looking at it from, it's a new, we got to develop something around this, right? How do we do an assessment for CMMC? How do we do an assessment for this? And it's the same discussions we had back in the 90s about developing an assessment for lean. All of these things are tools. Now, CMMC is slightly different because it's, you could say there's a lot of necessary non-value added, and then some would argue a lot of unnecessary non-value added in some of those elements. But, it all falls into the same thing. What do we need to do as a business to become more effective? And more effective for our customers, more effective for our shareholders or the owners, but, and also super effective for the employees, because without our employees, it's difficult to do anything. So it's just a balance of making sure we are properly and ethically working with our customers, with our employees, with our shareholders, and being good stewards in the community.
Very powerful stuff. And we are out of time. Brian, thank you so much for joining. For those of you watching, stay tuned for more industry leaders like Brian on the show. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Thank you.